Hey, welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Scott with Dave somewhere in this picture. And anyway, today we have a treat for you. Dave has been talking about this movie to me for a long time. And for whatever reason, and I'll get to this, I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. And a lot of it is just you can't really describe this movie in a way that makes sense. But once you see it, it's like, I watched this and it's like, no wonder he's been on me for this. Damn it. So sorry it took me so long, but this was a fun movie. The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. Wow.
I'm just so happy you watched it.
A newer movie made to look like it came out of the 50s in many ways, with dialogue, sets, mannerisms, just the setups of an old 50 sci-fi film. This movie is is a love letter to 50 sci-fi.
Oh, definitely.
But it makes fun of it, but it's a love letter to this cool stuff. I mean, with the monster, which is right there over my shoulder, nice and rubbery, lots of latex.
You can see the zipper.
Yeah, you can see the combat boots.
It's just so freaking hysterical.
Yes. So I know nothing about the history of this movie, but I have a feeling that you know something about how it came about or why or the process.
I just know a little bit about it because they did like a Q&A, and on the DVD that I have, they have the question and answer.
Okay.
And in this movie, the interesting thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of mid-level to bigger mid-level name actors and actresses in this movie. Like, I recognize everybody in this. The woman who played the wife was
Faye Masterson, I think.
Yeah, Faye Masterson. She plays Betty Armstrong. Now, Faye Masterson wasn't in just this. Trying to find her.
She did look
The
familiar.
Quick and the Dead, Eyes Wide Shut, 50 Shades of Freed. I mean, she's been in a lot of stuff. I think she's done some television work also. The Housekeeper's Revenge, Boy Called Poe. Her list of credits goes on. I've seen her in a lot of stuff. Larry Blameyer was Dr. Paul Armstrong. He's
the scientist.
He's an actor. I'm a scientist. I'm a rock
science. Rock science.
Brian Howe was Roger Fleming. He was basically next to the skeleton. He was the main bad guy, and he was in The Newsroom, Pursuit of Happiness, Westworld television series, Vice Principals. So he's been in a lot of bigger production movies. There was a question at one point that I vaguely remember. Somebody asked, "Oh, why did you do this?" And it was because Larry Blameyer was like, "Well, I had all my friends, and we all like comedies, and we all love the old movies, like you said." And that's basically why they did it. It was just like it was something fun to do. They could all do locally because they shot this very, very local. Their biggest out of pocket expense, or their biggest budgetary expense, was getting the rights to film in one of the state parks, I think.
It looked like they were in a park or something.
There was like a lot of the like stuff where they're like crouched down behind bushes. I think was on some of their property, and then other cuts were like in the park.
Yeah, it makes sense. It looked like they were in a big open, they were, because the cabin was out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And
but they went to stay at without luggage.
Yeah, I want to see if they have anything in here about the cabin, but it's funny because they have the cabin. Nobody's in that cabin. That looks like an old cabin. But I remember, and I know I'm speaking out of line, folks, so follow me for just a second. There's a scene when the skeleton is getting up, and they're puppeteering it rather well. It's moving. You
Hmm.
can't see the string, and they're doing something. And Larry Blameyer had to go to the guys and was like, if I remember if I remember this correctly, he told them, "Well, I can't see the strings." And the cameraman and the lighting guys and whoever was doing the
They
little
probably
bit of
spent a lot of
engineering was
time.
like, yeah, they're like, yeah, they would, yeah, it's really hard not to see the strings. And they're thinking he's congratulating me. No, I want to see the strings. And they're like, what? What do you mean? You would no, you can't. He's like, no, no, no. I'm trying to see the strings, and this is what I want. And nobody got it. Everybody's looking at him like he was nuts. So they went and
No.
got this nice tensile string so you could see it when they're pulling them and moving them. And I'm just laughing like, oh my god, he's like that, and he learned to let the cameramen know and the lighting guys know exactly what he wanted. He said that was like I guess a big learning curve for him
Mm,
because he knew what he wanted and he thought everybody else understood that. So for him, it was a big learning curve. Like, okay, I have to let these people know what my vision is and
right.
why I'm doing it. And a lot of people didn't like weren't getting it. Like how I tried to describe to you the show.
Yeah.
I think how
It's
he was describing it, and people are just like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about,
yeah,
man. What do you
yeah. Because
mean?
when you would
Uh,
describe this, I'm like, what? This does not sound good, Dave. This sounds really bad, man. This is a bad idea. No, it works. It
and
and
then
when I saw
go
it,
ahead.
that's what I
Sorry.
thought. I was like, oh my god, I see exactly what Dave meant by this. This is
Right, right.
it. I want to see the string. Here's one of the creative things about this.
Uh,
It when you see the effects and they're still going with it and they're taking it completely seriously, it's hard to
yeah,
criticize. It's
yeah,
really hard to criticize. It's like, okay, you're showing me your
yeah.
budget, which is almost non-existent. Let's go with it. And
But
that's
they did it on purpose, and that's the funny thing is because everything that you see on camera, none of it's an accident.
yeah,
Like in the old '50s, late '50s, early '60s sci-fi films, a lot of this was accidents. Like if you saw the guy in the monster suit wearing boots, you're like, fuck, he's wearing boots. Come on, how did you guys not see that? In this, they literally want you to see
see the boots.
the
Yeah,
guy in the rubber costume's boots. They want you to see his hands or his face behind the
yeah.
mat a little bit, and not be able to be quite sure whether you saw it or not. They want you to see the string.
Oh
They
my
want
god!
you to
And
see
you
how
will see the
badly
strings
they want you to see how badly the puppet is being carried down the path as they're
in
walking.
between them. Yeah,
You know?
that was
Now,
hilarious.
I'll break down the story real quick, what the story is supposed to be. The scientist, who is a rock scientist,
Who
because he
does
does
science?
science, and his wife are going out to the
Who's married
forest,
to
the
a
cabin.
scientist?
Yeah, she's married to a scientist. She's a wife of a scientist,
Wife of a
and it's really
scientist
hard.
with all this
And they're
science.
going out to going out to the woods to a cabin because he's looking for a meteorite that has I forgot what the fake element is.
Atmospherium, or
Like,
also mistakenly known as an Amish terrarium.
oh, sure. Oh God! But they're going out there to find this
Sorry.
rock, and while they're in the cabin, they see another falling star, and the wife's like, "Oh my gosh, that's probably the meteorite you're looking for." And he's like, "Well, that would be really impossible, dear, for that to happen because my rock has already hit the ground." Now, that could have been just bad writing if they would have left it there. But what makes it terrific writing is he basically repeats that exact little bit of information 4 times in 4 different ways. And and a group of aliens land and their mutant escapes, and they need atmospherium for their ship. The lost skeleton needs atmospherium so he can come back to life and be whole again. The crazy doctor that's helping the skeleton, I don't even know why he's helping the skeleton, but he
Nobody
is.
knows.
And then you have Anamala, who is
Which
played by, let me get up her name real quick. It's right here. It's on the tip of my tongue.
So
It's
who is a
played by
creation of
Jennifer.
4 different forest animals.
Yes, with a gun. Well, her name is Jennifer Blair. Now, the funny thing and the great thing is Jennifer Blair is Larry Blameyer's wife.
Ah,
And if I remember correctly, she wasn't even going to be in the movie, but something happened. Either this character was written in at the last minute because everybody thought it was funny, or the person that was going to play Animala couldn't make it or something. I'm
ah,
not sure. I could be wrong, but that's how I remember. I
interesting.
remember it.
Well, she was
I
great.
didn't watch. I didn't watch the review or the question and answer again this last time I
Yeah.
watched it, but she said that the dancing scene when she's trying to hypnotize,
Yeah.
you know, uh, Dr. Paul Armstrong, when she's doing the dance, there's no music playing.
Right.
So he's like, you just got to try and act, you got to try and act sexy. You got to dance. And she's like, how do I do that? He's like, just dance. So she's doing all that with no music. Everybody's standing there with cameras. And she's like, it was the most embarrassing thing she'd ever
I
done
bet it would have been
as
hard.
like an actress before. And I was like, yeah, but she did it so well.
She did
It's so
great.
goddamn funny.
It was great.
Oh, and it's really hard for me to describe this as you know.
It is
So
a
I'm
hard
gonna
movie to
try
describe.
one more time for anybody who's out there going, Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, what? It is a late 50s, very early 60s sci-fi movie spoof, taking itself seriously.
Yes.
And when I say a spoof taking itself seriously is it's purposely badly written. The special effects are purposely bad. Um, not just the dialogue, but the actual acting.
Mhm.
These are really good actors. I've seen every one of these
Well,
actors in other
that's one of
stuff.
the things. That's one of
They
the things I
are,
wanted to say is there are no bad
yeah,
actors in this. What you
yeah,
have are good actors playing bad actors well, and it's like
yes,
I
yes,
noticed it right away, and it's like these fuckers can act. This is good.
yeah. Especially, I mean, I got to pull up her name. Faye Masterson. When you see her in one of her other movies, she's really good.
Hmm.
So for her to come in here and play the part that she played as Betty Armstrong, that kind of ditzy airhead wife,
Hmm.
that's just a really bad actress. She did it really
Yeah,
freaking
because
well
that's a challenge in
because
itself.
there's a couple of times where, and I'm going to bring Donnie Jones and Skeeter into this for just a second, where I think I didn't realize where I pulled it from, but I think it was from this scene where she's talking to her husband and she's looking in one direction, but her husband's actually somewhere else. And then you see her switch her eyes to like where she's looking at the actual actor that she's playing against. And I
Hmm.
think I did something like that, or you did something like that. I think I did something like that whenever we were doing
Right.
one little skit one time where I'm looking off in one direction and then you came into camera and then I'm like, oh, there you go. Oh, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And
It was just
it's purposely done. It's
yeah.
purposely bad acting. And she did it so well. And then you have the two aliens who is Andrew Parks as Crowbar, and then you had Susan McConnell as Lattice,
Lattice and
and
Crowbar.
two alien names. And those two are both good actors
Oh
and
yeah.
actresses. And I've seen both of them in other things too. And it's to be that bad on purpose is really tough. And it's all that put together, all on purpose, that makes this movie work. It's like Black Dynamite. When you watch Black
Mm.
Dynamite, if you're not paying attention, you watch Black Dynamite off and on, you're busy doing something, which happened to me. You think it's actually a black exploitation movie from the 70s. But if
Mm.
you stop and start listening a little bit closer, that's what I did because I thought it was just an old black exploitation movie. I'd never heard of it. I was just okay. I had it on one day, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, this is a comedy! Oh my god, they're doing this on purpose! This is hysterical!"
Oh
I
wow.
knew going into this that it was a comedy, but I didn't know exactly what to expect. And man, probably one of my favorite comedies. It really is. I sit there and I look at that and go, that's doable. That's funny.
That's funny.
That guy knew what he wanted and he got
Hmm.
it. And I'm sure his movies after that got a little bit easier because he takes the same core group, and has done like two or three other movies. He does a sequel to this, and then he's done like two or three other movies that are just supposed to be just as funny.
Oh,
So I want to
wow.
watch the other two. So we may be doing a little bit more Larry Blamar movies.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. One of the, like we talk about this movie, and for those of you listening, if this is something, if you like old sci-fi movies,
Right.
um, it's I think it's pretty much a must. You're gonna have to like
Yeah.
watching these
Yeah.
old '50s movies because this is one that if you just walked in and it was on, you will be fooled for a little bit until you start
Yeah.
watching. And it's like, oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute. But I
Right.
liken this as to taking an old '50s movie, and it's not quite Airplane or Police Squad, but it's
Right.
close. It's the same type
Right.
of very straight, serious humor and wordplay
Mhm.
that with double
Right. Right.
entendres and stuff that just it's like, wow, that works. And I love it. It was just fun. It's like, wow.
And to know that like there's a point in Anamala where when you first see her, I don't think she's wearing gloves. She
Mm,
doesn't have like a little cat. And then all of a sudden, like in the next scene, she's got like half gloves on with
I
little
noticed that.
nails on. She looks more animally, and you're like, oh my god, that's something that they would have done in one of these old movies. They would have totally forgot to put the gloves
And
on
that was
and never
probably
reshot the
purposeful.
scene. Yeah, in this one, it's done on purpose. Like I said, the boots on the rubber monster wearing the boots, and you
Yeah,
can see the zipper. They were trying to cover up the zipper on that. But I think like they were
I
trying to make
believe
it
it.
look real because they're like, "There's no way to make this look real," but we'll straighten it up. And I guess Blameyer was like, "No, no, no, that's what I want." And you see all these guys that are used to working on $1 million, $20
Mm.
million plus budgets, and they're looking at him like, what do you mean that's what you want? This
Well,
movie's gonna suck. And it's like, no, I'm doing this on purpose. There's a reason that I'm doing
yeah.
this. And
Well, and
his results, you can't
right,
argue.
because it's done very much like the '50s movies. Like when the mutant attacks, it's all off screen. You don't see it, but you got the big close up of the actor. And it goes on. They add just like a half-second extra that
Yeah,
makes it
yeah,
awkward, and it's
yeah,
the editing is
yeah.
brilliant in this because it gets you there. I've got it. This is the scene that's killing me because I was almost in tears when this came up. The aliens have tracked the meteor to the cabin where Dollar
Right.
Store Bill Clinton and his wife. I'm sorry, the scientist. That's all I could think when
Right.
I was seeing. He's like, man, that's a Dollar Store Bill Clinton right there. But
Is there any other kind?
I don't know. Anyway, wow, sorry, I didn't. But so anyway, they track the atmosphere down to the scientist and the scientist's wife in the science cabin, uh, and there's stairs leading up to the cabin, up to the balcony, and they
Yeah.
freeze. Obviously, from the planet Marva, they do not have stairs because they're like, "Oh,
Right.
crowbar! What is that?" I don't know. It looks like lots of little buildings that are stacked on top of each other that just rise. I was like, what?
What are we gonna do?
And they slowly turn to the side and shimmy ever like they're
Yeah.
on the edge of a precarious cliff and can die at any second. And they are playing up the
Yeah.
terrified so well. Dude, that's so damn funny. That just killed me.
And I love after they after they finally get to the top of the stairs, there's like a porch, and they walk and they find the door. They're just standing there staring at the door, waiting for the door to open, and they start going into a full panic meltdown. What's going on? Why isn't the door opening?
Yes.
This is crazy. We're gonna die. What's gonna happen? And then the door opens, and the doctor standing there, the scientist is like, "Hi, can I help you?" And his wife comes out, "Hi," and they're
Yeah.
just standing there like, what's going on? What happened? You want to come in?
Oh, and then the other really funny scene is the dinner scene when they all
Oh
eat.
my god! And Lettuce and Crowbar have no idea how humans eat. So Crowbar looks at Lattice and says, "We'll just follow what they do. Well, they'll never know we're not human."
Yeah.
But the problem is, you have Animala, who's created by four animals, and she's this woman in a black cat suit, and she's not human.
No,
So
she's an
she goes
animal.
to drink her drink, and she's got the drink, and she's like tip 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 because she's been told to tip the glass back and tip tip tip. So she's tip 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 taking a drink, and the two aliens grab their drink, tip 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 tip. And I know this doesn't make any sense, folks, but it's absolutely hysterical when you see it.
It is.
And then Animala starts eating, and the aliens start eating just like her. And the two humans, or the three humans at that point, are just sitting there looking at each other like,
because Animala
"What the
actually goes
hell
into
is
the
going on?"
food. She goes into the food face first, like an animal, and then Crowbar and Lattice just bam face first right in there. It's
God,
absolutely
it's funny.
hilarious,
And,
dude.
and I don't know how he got his wife to do that. That just to turn everything off and go, "This is going to be funny. Trust me, it's going to be funny." Just so damn funny. And it
Well,
works. Everything.
I think the reason it works so well is because it is purposely done that way. It is.
Yeah,
It wasn't, hey, let's make a serious movie and let's make it cheesy or anything. It's like, okay,
yeah,
he approached it serious, but with every joke, including the dialogue and the repetition of words like science,
yeah.
um,
Science.
over and over, is just
Yeah,
showing what, if you watch some old of these old sci-fi movies,
yeah.
you're gonna see this crappy dialogue, and all he's doing is saying, "Here it is," and I'm gonna exaggerate it a bit, and you catch it right away, and it's like, "Oh, look at that!"
The magnetic monster. The
Yes,
magnetic monster
yes,
did this with
definitely.
me. I guarantee you this guy had seen this movie like 5, 6 times probably.
The other one
But
I was thinking of was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was where that little boy was basically having a dream, and it was a
oh,
post-apocalyptic thing.
the monster, Robot Monster.
Robot Monster, yeah.
Robot Monster.
This
Yeah,
one
yeah,
definitely pokes
exactly
fun
that
at
kind
this
of
too,
thing.
yeah. Because it's
And
nonsensical. That's one of the things I wanted to say. That's the skeleton is very nonsensical to this story. You could take the skeleton out, and it doesn't change the movie.
no, it doesn't change it at all. It makes it even funnier.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And that, again, the reason it's done that way is some of these movies just didn't make sense. Yeah, they were churned out. Because everybody was like the Asylum of the day, kicking out
Yeah,
every knockoff movie. Oh, they got a sci-fi movie. They got a Twister movie. Ours is
right,
tornadoes, and
right,
oh yeah, we'll
right.
put sharks in the next one, that kind of thing. So it's just,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I liked the writing in this. You had hit on it already, but I'm going to reiterate it for anybody who wants to see how to do a comedy. Not uncomfortable, but take a scene to the stretched out moment. Because last night you had texted and said there are some scenes that really drag out. But for me, when you watch
Mm.
those, he's doing that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think he edited this to purposely stretch that out just a little too
Yeah, oh,
long,
yeah,
where everybody's sitting there staring at each other like they have dialogue, 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 dialogue ends, and then this.
yeah,
So,
yes.
then they
It,
walk away.
yeah.
See, 2 or 3 heartbeats too long,
Mm-hmm.
and then you cut it.
Oh, I firmly believe it's done on purpose. It's just, it makes it. There are a few points in this, for me, it slows down a bit. It is by no
Yeah,
means a bad. Well, it is a bad movie, but it's a good bad movie, and it's a purposely
it's
bad movie.
purposely it's
I know, and
purposely a
that's
bad movie.
it's purposely bad, so it's good. I'm confused,
Yeah,
but I like it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
different. Don't go into this movie thinking Ed Wood, because that's not what this is.
No,
This
and
is
Ed Wood didn't
purposeful.
mean to.
No,
Yeah, Ed Wood didn't mean to make his movies like that.
this
This
was
guy
meant to
does.
be.
This guy and his, and I think they're all. I'm imagining they're all friends
I would
because, like I
imagine.
said, this the same group has done several movies together, very small
Very
movies like
cool.
this together. So I imagine they all know each other and all buddies. It's just a matter of when they had time to get together to do it.
Right.
And I think that's a good way of doing it. It's like the Who Killed It, Captain Alex guy. He probably still has the same group of, 4 or 5
And I bet
friends
you
that
not a damn one of them know who killed Captain Alex.
not one of them. I still don't. Doesn't matter. I like that show. Can't help it.
We will never know who killed Captain Alex.
Oh man,
It was the mutant.
but the mutant. Oh god,
So yeah,
it's just so fun.
this movie, I do, and I've said it before, I'd get such a Police Squad airplane vibe from it,
Yeah,
just because of
yeah,
the style. And I just say that to say it's not that. When you watch this, you may pick up on it, but it's don't expect the just absolute
surely you must
hysterical.
be kidding. Yeah,
Exactly. There's some of that
yeah,
there. There is
yeah,
that
a little bit.
style. The banter is what does it good in this movie. And it's like, wow, this is slick. This is slick. And I saw it right away. I dig it. I absolutely
Yeah,
dig
I like when the aliens, because the size differentiation of the alien spaceship on the inside is completely different from the outside.
it.
It's not a TARDIS thing, but in old movies they used to do that a lot.
Yeah. Hmm.
And this is done on purpose. The pegboard in the background that's painted silver with the
Yeah.
little
That was, hey, you know what?
gauges
It
and stuff
worked.
put on it. It all worked, and I'm sitting there looking at that, going, you couldn't have made this movie and given them Starship Enterprise cockpit
No.
kind of thing, or that kind of deep. It wouldn't be funny. It wouldn't work. So you have to go with the pegboard. You have to go with old gauges that you found at a
Hmm.
job lot. Just put them on the back. Just everything worked on this. It just
It did.
on so many levels.
It did.
He's got the little bike. He's got a little bike bell, the
Yeah.
alien crowbar. He's trying to use a sensor, and what it is it's like a little old school little bike bell, ding ding ding.
Yep.
You pull, and I'm laughing so hard the first time I saw that. I was like, oh my god! But it's what they did, and they
Yeah.
still do.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that.
So I'm trying to think what it was I saw. Well, I mean, I saw in here the gun was a caulking gun that had been
Yeah,
modified to look like
yeah.
a gun.
They put some
But
shit on it.
I've seen some pretty cool stuff from some props in multi-million dollar movies that are just like, oh shit, how'd that get past? It just,
Yeah,
but you don't
yeah.
notice it. That's where I notice. Watching a lot of The Mandalorian. Um,
Uh,
and when they show in the cities and in the people's houses, I saw Home Depot
right.
lights. So it's like, so it's actually
The
it wasn't the
solar light.
Mandalorian. I'm sorry, I forget. It might have been Star Trek or something. Whatever. No, it was. It might or
Uh,
Andor. I don't know. It was something with a lot of money. You know the little round ball lights at Home Depot that have colors.
yeah.
Yeah, those were on an end table. I was
That's
like,
funny.
I know where they got those. I mean, it
You
works,
get your
but
bolt killing us.
so here you had, we're talking why the reason I brought that up is because you mentioned that,
Right.
they still do it. Yes, they still do it. If it works, it works, you know?
Yeah, you got to do what's best for the story and best for the movie or best for your television show, especially if it's a comedy.
Hmm.
You gotta, like the lady who played Animala did so many funny things,
Yeah, she was
and it
great.
was all she barely had any lines. You know, so
Yeah.
I think her biggest line was, "He's always hated you. He loves me," and she's talking to the bad guy human, like
Yeah.
the Lost Skeletons always liked me better, and like the brother and sisters, you know,
Yeah.
rivalry. But everything she did was like in her face and the way she moved,
Hmm.
and she's moving like a cat, and she's like over exaggerating everything, and it was
But it's
so perfect.
perfect. It's perfect
It's
because
just so
that's
damn
what's
funny,
funny. You can't watch this and not laugh. I guess you can, but I
right?
can't. you
No,
know.
and this is probably about the fifth time I've watched it in
Yeah.
over the last few years,
I
and it still is funny because I look and go, okay, how did they do this, and why did they do this? And every time I watch it, I see something new and go, That's why. That's why they're afraid of going up the stairs. They're aliens. They've never seen a flight of stairs, you know? Or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You
very
call it a
cool.
picnic.
Very cool. I'll give my final thoughts on the Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. Wow. A pleasant surprise, one that you will not easily describe to your friends and family on what you just watched or what they're about to watch. So if you like 50s sci-fi and you like stupid humor like Dave and I do,
Yeah,
this is right up your alley. I do recommend it. It's fun. It's
yeah,
I can't help but
right.
smile when I think about this movie.
Yeah. And the series or the sequel to this is just as funny. And the
Great.
entire crew that they've had in this movie is in the sequel.
Very
And
cool.
they explain everything in the sequel. And it's
Okay.
great. It's just so bad. It's great.
Awesome. Awesome.
Anyway, but I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely on this movie. Larry Blameyer, as far as the movies I've seen him do so far, I'm a fan. I'm there. I would love to meet this guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh, any advice that he could give us on anything would be so I would be taking notes if I ever talk to this guy and be like,
Yeah.
well, how would I do this? How do you think this could be, something like that. But yeah, these are movies that if you're out there wanting to make a movie, I'd recommend watching his movies and see how he did it. Because even even though he had a budget, they weren't huge budget.
No.
Most of his people came in, they didn't even work. I think they were working off, I don't want to say off the books because that's not right,
Hmm.
but I don't think they worked union scale. I don't
No.
even think they were working union scale. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
they did this as a favor and
Yeah. Well,
they
here's
keep
the
doing these
interesting.
things because they're having fun.
Here's the I'll just give a little bit of the industry info on union scale.
Uh-huh.
If a film can be union and it can be
Mhm.
considered what's ultra low budget, and under the
Right.
ultra low budget contracts, you can pay as low as $1 a day or $1 for the
Really?
entire performance. But the actor
Wow.
has to agree to it. So you could get Tom Cruise for a
Yeah.
dollar if he agree to it for your
Yeah.
ultra low budget. So they do have that in there. So yeah,
Right.
it's
Right.
obviously. I mean, hell, this was major distributor has this movie, so it's I would imagine it was a union feature, but probably done under
Right.
ultra low budget rules.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
pretty
just
cool.
know that during the question and answer, they were like, "Hey, what kind of budget did you have?" And everybody on stage just started laughing. Like, what do you mean budget? You know?
That's
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. But I have to agree with what you just said. Like this movie is funny. If you like old
yeah.
sci-fi and then you like to tease old sci-fi, this movie's for you. The sequels is for you. Um, A Dark and Stormy Night would probably be for you, which is another Larry Blameyer movie. And he's got like I said,
Are
one
they
or two
all
more
in
out
this
there.
vein?
They're all kind of in this vein of old,
Very cool.
scary, old, creepy. He's got one called the creeping forehead, where it's like the forehead, like coming across the table
Oh
to get
God,
you. Jumps
that's
up and hits you on the head, and
and it's a
I haven't
forehead.
seen that, but that's one that I'm gonna probably rent. I think that's on Amazon.
Oh my
I'm gonna
God.
probably rent that one because a lot of the same crew is in that one. I'm
See,
just like,
that's
I
really
gotta see.
cool. I'm inspired.
Yeah,
So that's what watching this did is as a very amateur filmmaker, this movie inspires me. So that's
yeah, it's fantastic,
absolutely.
and I recommend it for anybody who wants to watch it, anybody who wants to laugh, anybody who likes dumb humor, like me. That's all I got, brother.
All right. So thanks again, folks. If you like our show, please hit the like, the subscribe, the share, and a special thank you to all our new listeners that have found us. Drop us a line. Tell us how you found
Thank
us,
you very
or
much.
um, just thanks. Thanks for coming along for the ride.
Yeah,
If you want us to talk about a movie that you love, drop us a line. We'll definitely try and get it in the queue. So until
yeah.
next time, we'll see you.